We are productive in our individual spots, but if we're going to solve bigger enterprise problems, we really do that better by ideating together. I don't know everything. So there's three categories I suggest you look at how you develop solutions. The first is around customers. The second is internal efficiencies, corporate efficiency. And the third is at a desktop level. When you have all of the answers, what questions do you ask? So it's going to be a bit of a paradigm shift.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Heroes of Hybrid Work. On today's pod, I'm very excited to welcome Lorri Rowlandson, Senior Vice President of Strategy and Innovation at BGIS, a global leader in integrated facility management services that manages over 50,000 facilities totaling more than 600 million square feet across several markets. In addition to being a strategic and operational real estate executive with global experience delivering integrated real estate services, Lorri is an authority on generative AI across all facets of real estate delivery. Lorri actively champions AI's transformative potential by developing and implementing innovative use cases that revolutionize departments, driving efficiency, productivity, and measurable impact. I heard Lorri's insights on AI's impact on facilities management for the first time at IFMA this year, and it's why Lorri joins us as a hero of hybrid work today. Lorri, thank you so much for joining us.
My goodness, thank you for having me, Jenny. And my goodness, thank you for such a lovely introduction. Somewhere my parents are smiling.
Awesome. We'll send it to them after this. All right. So Lorri, you have an impressive career, clearly, and you're passionate about helping facilities leaders with the challenge and the opportunity of AI. How did your career path lead you here?
Well, it's interesting. It's certainly, when you're in university and you think, here's what I'm going to be when I grow up, I never expected to be here. But I would say what led me to where I am and what will allow me to ride in my career through the future is more the interpersonal side, which is interesting because we often look to our technical abilities, but everything is changing so quickly. Like all of the knowledge exists. So a lot of my natural interpersonal abilities, problem solving, critical thinking, sort of consulting, a business-led approach, how you do change management. A lot of those skills are really helping to maintain my relevancy as I get onwards in my career. And it's really about how you not just have an idea, but how you ensure your idea is successfully implemented and you get the outcome that you need.
Awesome. Can you give us an example? Like how did your career get started? How did you get started? Yeah.
Yeah, I started right out of university working for IBM in their procurement team. So I was always exposed to very large outsourcing arrangements of all kinds, IT, HR, BPOs, like big global outsourcing deals. So I learned a lot of the mechanics of working in very integrated teams across companies for teamwork and success across companies. So leveraging multiple capabilities. And from there, I got exposed to real estate. I was involved with an outsourcing and I crossed over into the real estate side. I worked for Bank of Montreal, one of Canada's largest banks, and worked more in their real estate organization. Did my grad degree a little bit later in life. And then I came to BGIS. So always around outsourcing, making teams, understanding capabilities, measuring and governing success, because outsourcing is a lot about governance and problem solving.
Yeah.
And so got more and more involved with real estate, picked up multiple credentials in that way. But I've always had a passion for learning. And I think that is probably the secret to my success. I read about a book a week. And I'm really busy, so I often listen to books, but I'm quite a voracious learner. And I think as we go forward in our career, especially over the next 10 years, we're about to have, 40 years of change in the next 10 years. So continuous learning is almost going to be a mandatory skill for the future to stay relevant.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example, Jenny.
Sure.
Don't say how old I am, but you'll get an idea. So when I was in high school, we learned computers. Our computer class was punching cards. And like we had to punch these little dots in cards.
Wow.
They were like, and you would take the stack of cards and you would feed them through this thing that would sound like you're counting bytes. And then, you would find out if your code was right. That's how I learned computers in high school.
Incredible.
Obviously, a very long time ago. I had, that computer in the Matrix with the monochrome green flashing thing. I think that was my first computer. I think my first computer was a Wang computer, which is a company that doesn't even exist anymore. So if I hadn't retread my career and continued to learn, I would be an anachronism today. And the amount of change I've endured in my career in 35 is about to happen in the next 8.
Yeah, no, and how being a lifelong learner is absolutely essential to being such an authority on AI today, right? You started with punching cards, and now you actually have some real practical advice on how to help people using the latest technologies today, right? So that's excellent. I love learning that about you. So let's dive in a little bit. So the global Gen AI market is expected to reach almost 111 billion by 2030, which is a stat by Fortune Business Insights. What are the top benefits of AI for employees? Let's start there. What have you seen as the top benefits?
Well, there's two that really come to mind. Speaking for myself, I'm a constant creative thinker. I'm constantly observing opportunities. I have all of these crazy ideas, but the implementation always slows you down. So now, you have no code apps. Any ideas that you have can be done in hours instead of months with, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So anybody who has a creative mind and is a problem solver, the future belongs to you, because when you have all the answers, what questions do you ask? So creativity is going to be valued way more in the future than it is today. A lot of our work today and in, recent years has been more around busy work, I'll call it, doing the work and the heavy lifting. But we can do things so much infinitely faster than we did before. So that's, I guess, the second item is our ability to eliminate, I'll call it busy work, and do more thinking work. It is, problem solving, creativity, being strategic, critical thinking. Those are the skills that we get to practice. We don't have to do mundane administrative work anymore. We can actually use our brains and push them into the future and do a different kind of work, more strategic instead of tactical demographic of work, which I think is very exciting for all of us.
Yeah, no, I agree. I also feel like we just no longer have that blank slate, right? We no longer are staring at a blank sheet of paper. If you're struggling with, getting started on something, you literally just type it into a chat GPT and say like, how do I get started on this, right? Like, where do I start? And then all the ideas start flowing from there. It's that, I don't know what it is, but it's that like paralysis that we feel when we're getting started, and it makes us so much more productive. I think you're absolutely right in that I get things done so much faster so that I can focus on things that actually need that creativity and the thinking. And not only that, but I can focus more on my family, on my kids. Like I can get stuff done so that I can go attend to them and then come back. And my life is just a lot easier since AI came onto the scene. Just a quick stat to share, and you shared this in your talk. I'm taking it from you, but employees using AI tools report a 30% increase in productivity, according to Accenture. And I think it's probably even more than that. Whenever that study was taken, I think we're just learning how to ask better questions, as you said, and asking better prompts. So based on your research, because I think you have some, I think it's BGIS research, I'm not sure. But what are the top objectives for organizations that planned generative AI activities? We kind of know personally how it helps us. Now, what are organizations thinking about when they start to implement AI?
Well, I would say if you're talking about content, it's a different discussion. I would say if I could zoom out a bit, organizations are really disturbed by this topic. It's happening so quickly. And, I think in the first year, a lot of companies ostriched about this topic. And we're trying to figure out how to block, the OpenAI site and sites like that.
Yeah.
And there's something like 6,000 new AI tools coming online every month. And what I said at IFMA was it's like the worst game of whack-a-mole you'd ever play. Like you could never block all the sites. So how do you use those tools responsibly? How do you make sure that you're getting the better quality of information? How do you make sure you're not infringing on any legal or contractual issues? I think a lot of organizations are spending a lot of time reflecting on those elements. How do we make sure our corporate secrets are not stolen? How do we make sure our employees are using safe environments that allow us to maintain our confidentiality? And they're rightly preoccupied with those topics. So I'll just say that as a blanket category. And, that is still something that I think many organizations are just hanging on for dear life and trying to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
And if organizations haven't addressed this yet, they need to, because I'm going to guess between 20 and 40% of their employee base are already using AI tools.
Yeah. How can organizations use it safely? What would be your best advice?
Yeah, well, the first thing is you have to have a policy, and don't publish it on a SharePoint site and hope that, like Kevin Costner wasn't telling the truth. If you build it, they won't come. You have to take this very seriously. And it's almost like safety training. You have to do it in person, make sure people understand the ramifications and the seriousness of this. So you have to have a very hands-on approach to understanding the policies and understand you have to provide a safe environment for employees to work. You're going to have some people that, maybe have never tried ChatGPT, but you're going to also have people in your company that are way ahead, writing their own, tools and programs, projects and code, and using Perplexity every day, or writing their own GPTs, and they're way ahead of you. So you're going to have to provide a safe environment and assign a champion to be involved. And I think, as I said to you when we were at IFMA, there's kind of three categories that we suggest to approach a strategy. Mm-hmm. The first is look at what would make a difference for your customers. So it's kind of like ring fencing all of the ideas into mentally palatable chunks. So you're kind of eating the elephant a bite at a time, so to speak. And there's lots of ideas, and it gets very confusing, and then people shut down and don't do anything, or that's when the skunk works increases. So there's three categories I suggest you look at how you develop solutions. The first is around customers and what makes a difference for them. And depending on your business, the answer will be different, but really understand what your customers care about and how you can make a difference in their lives, and demonstrate to them that you're not, stuck in the past, that you're investing in AI tools to make a difference in their experience or their costs, or whatever matters to your business. That's customers. The second is internal efficiencies, corporate efficiencies. So this is in like your finance department. At BGIS, for example, we process literally millions of invoices a month, millions. And so instead of, assigning more people to it, we started to use more technology, and our technologies become much more sophisticated. So we are using AI to identify exceptions and do matching and do root cause analysis as to why invoices are not the way that they're supposed to be. If we had to do that manually, my goodness.
Right.
And salaries are the number one cost of any company. So instead of having our finance team do busy work, they're doing much more strategic work in, using the tools. So that's category two.
Love that.
And the third is at a desktop level, and that's at an individual level, which is what you talked about at the beginning of this question. It's really no one is more qualified to re-engineer an individual's job than the individual themselves. So helping employees at a desk level with AI literacy is one of the most powerful things that you can do. You said 19 to 33%, I think, Jenny, in efficiency, but in some departments, it's closer 30%. To 80s.
Yeah, 30% in efficiency. Yeah. Yeah, in some departments, you say it's closer to 80.
Yes.
Yes, I agree. I would agree with that, actually. I think I am much more efficient and way more than 30%. All right. So we talked about all the categories. I love your three categories, right? You said customer, you said internal, and then you said individual. So now that, there's a bit of a framework on how to tackle this, how can we trust it? What should we be thinking about when it comes to accuracy?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think we sometimes fall into black and white thinking about the tools. We would never, just blindly accept the results of any tool without validating it. And I think people think, okay, I'll just put it in there and blindly accept the answer. Well, when you're doing any kind of adopting any technology, let's just say some of the non-AI technologies we took on 20 years ago, we would always do parallel testing and validate it with our current process and make sure that it's accurate. And I think just because it happens so fast, maybe we think that we're going to skip a step, but AI tools are no different than any other technology tools. They should be an extension of the humans. So
Yeah.
that doesn't give the humans a hall pass to just blindly accept whatever the output is in that chat box, just because it's so cleanly presented and you can just cut and paste it so easily. Doesn't give us off the hook. But one of the things I do is I always ask it. I use Perplexity now. I'm not not a reseller or anything like that, but I use Perplexity, for example, almost exclusively now instead of even Google, because it always indicates the references. So whatever tool, whether you're using Claude or ChatGPT or whatever the tool of your preference is, one of the hacks I suggest is always ask it to cite the references, the original references. Because we know, Jenny, not everything on the internet is true, right?
Yeah.
So when you see the references, you might go, oh, okay, I like that news source. I believe that is a credible source. And then you can ask it to hyperlink you to the original source. You can go and look. You can verify it in other ways. But it's just kind of a fast track way. And sometimes it's come up with references and I look at the reference and I go, I've never heard of them, or I'm not sure I feel comfortable with that source. And then I ask it different questions just to test and validate. Again, It's not going to replace humans. It should just be a massive acceleration of what we do, but it will never absolve us from our responsibility to validate the information. So we just can't get lazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've all heard the story of, the lawyers getting legal cases that never existed, right? And using it to support their case. So 100%, we can't get lazy. We have to look. I love that tip on Perplexity. I know a lot of people in my company use it as well. Make sure to check your references. We all need to continue to use our basics here. I think sometimes even with hybrid work, with AI, we kind of throw out all the information we've been learning along the way when you always need to trust but verify, right? Everything. That's great. That's a great tip, Lorri. So what about some of the, everyone wants to hear about the dollars, right? How does this impact costs, revenue, value? You had that great slide at your talk that really drew me in. How, I guess, what are you seeing out there in terms of savings?
Oh, well, the answer is it depends, unfortunately. But the reason I suggest organizing the business cases in those three categories that I mentioned is because you can demonstrate and point to tangible savings. Mm-hmm. And what we're doing is identifying use cases and any benefits. Financial is one form of benefits, but there could be other more material benefits, like in the customer category, customer experiences is something worth considering and investing in. So
sure. And you could probably even land on a retention stat, right? Or a retention when you provide your customers with a great experience, right? You could test out, well, if we offer them AI, do they stay longer, right? There's just so many ways that you can splice this from a business perspective.
If you look at things from an economist's perspective, Jenny, we struggle to get 1% to 2% measured productivity as an economy. And if we could make everybody 20% more efficient, I kind of think you'd have to do training and everything, but just think about the amount of benefit we could drive.
It's true.
Think about it from an economist's perspective.
Yeah, no, definitely. I wish I was an economist, but but I hear you. I hear you. So, okay, AI reduces costs, provides new sources of revenue, increases value to the customer. Um, what like what's the best way for a facilities manager specifically to explore GPTs? How easy is it to find them?
It's incredibly easy. You and I, in an hour, could write one. All we would need to do is just have a little bit of an idea or a wireframe. But my suggestion is make sure you have a safe environment, you're aware of your company policy, and then just try. And go in and have an idea of something you want to automate. Look for things that are repetitive or things that you want to, little tools that you could build. Just think like, remember a few years ago, decades ago, when we were building apps? So if you kind of had to build, I use it's kind of like an app mentality. So if you had to build an app for your job to make something more efficient, what would you do? You have a no code way of doing that. But my best suggestion is just get in and try that based on an irritant of your day-to-day job or something that is repetitive that you do constantly or takes multiple sources of things to analyze or fast path to information that you need. Like I was in even something as simple as start simple.
Definitely. And one thing that I love about the GPTs is that you can always make it better. So if it spits out something to you that you're just, oh, no, that's not entirely right, you literally just say that. Oh, that's not entirely right. Let's try it this way. Or, let's add this piece of data to make it better. And then it's like, all right, let me go back and try again. And you can continue to have this conversation until it gets to the place that you as a human being need it, right? Not the robot. So what's been your favorite so far? I mean, I feel like you're just in this. Have you built one?
Oh yes, I have. I've built quite a few of them.
Okay.
One of the things I also am the sponsor for our Indigenous program, for example. And one of the barriers to progress in Canada, that's a important thing. And one of the things that we would do is land acknowledgements, depending on where you are. But people were worried about making mistakes. And so I created a GPT that anybody could use so that they would feel more comfortable with making land acknowledgements at the beginning of the meeting that have an appropriate script based on the location of the meeting. So that's publicly available. I made that available for the CCIB. Another one is that I did was because there's so much change happening and transformations there's so much underway and imminent on the horizon. I loaded in all of the New York Times bestseller models on, different business models, Blue Ocean Strategy, Porter's Five Forces, SWOT, and all of them. And then identified the top use cases that they would be great for. So like even Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I read that book. It's one of the best-selling business books, but nobody can remember it. So even though we may have read them, we may not always retain them, even though they're fantastic. So I created a GPT that has all of the principles. So you can just type in your business objective or your issue, and then it would suggest which model is best for you, a link to the book so you can go buy it on Amazon. So we're giving the authors proper visibility. And it also creates PowerPoint templates so that you can go in and start facilitating. So that's a great tool for a chief innovation officer to be able to use. Now, those are a little bit more advanced, but there's simpler ones that you can create and automate. I have a number of big, another thing that I helped our professional services team do is look at how we were managing facilities against climate models. So there's climate events impacting facilities managers. It used to be once a decade, you'd have billion-dollar events. Seems to be 1 to 2 times a year now. So we worked with an insurance authority to identify the top factors to, make your building more resilient for weather conditions, extreme heat, extreme cold, snow, floods, that sort of thing. And that takes a lot of data, as you can imagine, from multiple sources. So by teaching the app that, now we can ask it questions and look at different modeling, and it runs scenarios and things like that. So we can, when we're making asset planning recommendations, we can make something that's tailored to that building location.
That's incredible. Is there a predictive aspect to that as well?
Yeah, actually, I just found a really good predictive AI weather tool on the weekend. And so that's been the latest thing. So to your earlier point, absolutely, you can make it smarter. We all get smarter every day,
Yeah.
humans and technology.
Yeah.
So the nice thing about this is that it is iterative and it's so low barrier. Like literally in minutes, you could write a GPT. It's so easy. You can type, you can write a GPT. It's so easy.
I have to try this. And I think you're the first person that's been on the pod that has actually mentioned like you can actually go and do it yourself. I think that's pretty powerful. The fact that you said it's an hour, you can do it in an hour. I'm definitely going to try this. I think that's awesome, Lorri. Thank you so much. So, all right, let's take a step back. You talk a lot about the importance of AI literacy. I imagine that's to gain buy-in in an organization, reap the benefits of AI. How can facilities managers be successful? Because I think some of them are getting some pushback. And I think some of it has to do with the safety measures you talked about at the beginning. But is there anything else they can do to really bring innovation to the organization?
To your point, it really comes from sponsorship. You have to have a safe environment for people to practice and try, and feel confident to work in, because your company's confidentiality, your legal considerations, your privacy considerations are paramount. And so we can't be, by not providing options, indirectly encouraging employees that are enthusiastic about driving the business forward to put the business at risk at the same time. Like, what a shame that their altruistic intentions would end up creating a compromise for the company. And there's so much real threat on data security and cybersecurity right now that should not be ignored. Mm-hmm. And so you have to be careful that the enthusiasm doesn't create other problems. So you absolutely need leadership sponsorship. So if your leaders aren't talking about this or providing a safe place, that's the first place we got to get somebody right at the top to understand and acknowledge it, not ostrich on the topic, because it's going to happen whether they recognize it or not. But as quickly as possible, get everyone an approved environment to practice.
Right.
And then what a massive change management and training exercise that they have to go through to be able to do that.
Yeah. So intentionality, really, really important. And there are private GPTs, right? I've seen some organizations have like very private chat GPT like AI models in their organizations. Is that what you're talking about? Like something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it just depends where the data resides. Now, if you just use OpenAI's version, you can dictate who has access. But the thing is where the servers are located, and many corporate contracts talk about data sovereignty and residency. So you have to think about that. So just using OpenAI's version, you don't always have visibility to where the data is being stored, even though, the likelihood is low, but who knows, right? So you have to just be careful that you're not loading something in, even though you're not giving somebody else access, it could somehow through a data breach be accessed. So it's just a precaution, and maybe that's overly cautious, but I don't want to be the one that puts my company on the headlines. So I refuse to do that. But at the same time, I was one of the earliest ones really pushing our boundaries, which an innovation person always does. Mm-hmm. I remember 15 years ago insisting we needed to unblock social media from our offices. So this is one of those times where we need to really figure out how to embrace it quickly.
Absolutely. All right. What about the facility's role is changing given AI's impact? How is it shifting the skills paradigm? And what are the top skills that really facilities leaders really need to start, getting coached up on to make sure that this is successful?
Well, what's exciting to me is I think data and having a data-driven approach is only going to accelerate and make us better facilities managers. And the amount of tools and information and sophistication of information is increasing. And I'll give you an example just to underline that. Is our industry traditionally has been fairly siloed, in the way that we make decisions. So if you take something like an HVAC system replacement, I'm going to take a fairly tactical example.
Yeah.
You think about all of the decisions and all of the different people that are involved, from the idea we need one to the disposal of it. Okay. And I'm just going to rattle off a few in the life cycle. So there's specifications and which model we're going to pick. Are we choosing sustainability objectives in the spec that we're using, the size of the building, the occupancy of the building, our position on sustainability. So many things you think about when you're choosing the right equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to deal with the install, and then you have to make sure it was installed properly and do some, commissioning and recommissioning. And then, you get, just have to make sure it's working properly. If you're getting work orders, are they of a certain type? Are we managing the warranty? Why are we getting so many work orders of a certain type?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you go on to, hey, it's year 9 and we normally replace these in year 10, but you know what? The work orders are fine. It's working within its parameters of performance. Maybe we could stretch out another year of capital. Whereas some, are failing, and we've spent a fortune on work orders in year 6, not even close to its life cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not order that again, or let's do a diagnostic to understand why it didn't work. So we did that data mapping exercise of all of the cost impacts, or all of the things that impact cost, and all the consideration factors. Then we mapped it to where the data source is. Where's that source of the truth? And then now we can look at it as an entire ecosystem and go very quickly. Yeah, we can stretch that out another year. Or why is this manufacturer consistently not performing? Like, we're spending a lot of money on work orders to just barely get it to these 10 years. So the sophistication of looking at the total cost of ownership and operations from an asset planning, and just in that example, is remarkable. So your visibility and ability to make much bigger strategic decisions is just completely blown away.
That's excellent. And it's, again, feeding it the information so that the humans can make the best decisions that they can as quickly as they can. And a lot of people are saying so that facilities managers can actually focus on the employee experience, so that a lot of that busy work is being done by the AI, and they can actually focus on the human aspects of their world. Now, do you think there's a skilled paradigm shift there for facilities managers as well?
Yeah, I think, again, all of those skills that I think are relevant everywhere is problem solving, just broader thinking. Like I said, when you have all of the answers, what questions do you ask? So It's going to be a bit of a paradigm shift for us, because we're used to dealing with, technical situations, and some of that isn't going to go away. But when we have an opportunity to think more strategically, to make our jobs more effective, instead of doing more work orders better, faster, we could avoid the work orders altogether if we're really smart about managing the ecosystem of information.
Love that. What a great example. All right, we are getting to time. So I have one last question, which is, you have such a wealth of knowledge, Lorri. You listen to a book a week, or you read a book a week. Like, what future trends or predictions do you see as AI evolves in the modern workplace?
Yeah, technology in general, or AI specific?
I would stick to AI, or, if you have something else to share, I definitely want to hear it.
Well, the reason I ask that is I think AI is going to enable a lot of things, like robots, for example, and robotics. Advanced robotics is going to be very interesting in the next era. We're seeing a little glimpse of that from people like Elon Musk, but there's other companies in Europe and China that are really aggressively prototyping integrations with robotics and AI. So thinking of AI as an enabler. Mm-hmm. I also think with augmented reality powered by AI is going to be another powerful combination that's coming out. But if you're looking for more tactical examples, kind of in the immediate, like 1 to 2 to maybe 3 year horizon, just things like enhanced automation and efficiency, looking at that ecosystem of data and optimizing performance for either cost or sustainability, human experience, whatever your goals are, and just being able to do those outcomes faster. And, predictive maintenance and energy management, as I mentioned in the example I gave you, is a huge opportunity of another frontier. And that's a very confusing, data-ridden environment that we can cut through the noise and actually affect progress faster. I think space utilization and optimization still has some opportunities there. We've been talking about that for quite a while, but I think there's still another frontier there. And just even at an individual level, it's anything that you are doing and whatever your role is has an opportunity to use AI in some application that only you probably know about or your department. So have a conversation with your immediate department and colleagues and just order a pizza and talk about ideas. I think often frustration breeds inspiration. So when I facilitate workshops, I often start there and see how we can get rid of the frustration and automate some of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's excellent. And it's really funny because I've gotten so excited about all the work you do with AI that I haven't asked about hybrid work. So in summary, everything that we've spoken about is just so fascinating, and it's just going to help so many of our listeners. How has AI impacted hybrid work? How can we use AI in the hybrid work environment to make it more efficient? Like you said, I know you mentioned a little bit about office utilization here at the end. How does that factor in?
Well, I think I'm going to give you two answers. One is I think it's going to make your occupancy information a lot more efficient and allow you to, allocate and distribute people, communicate differently. But that has been something we've been talking about for, I'm going to say at least a decade.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a different answer that's related. I think the pervasiveness of AI is going to create the need to be much more focused on ideation and collaboration and innovation. And those conversations are inevitably better in person. And so I indirectly feel that AI is going to create gravity of people needing to be at the office. We are productive in our individual spots, but if we're going to solve bigger enterprise problems, we really do that better by ideating together. I don't know everything,
Sure.
but my favorite thing to do is getting together a diverse group of people or in a specific department and really thinking into the dark corners. You do that much better in person.
Sure.
So indirectly, I think with the need for more ideation and collaboration, and celebration, get everybody out of their basements. And I know people think that they're productive, but we're also robbing the next generation of the opportunity to learn from us by, working at home all the time.
Absolutely.
We miss those collisions and the richness of the conversations and the accidental information and opportunities you learn standing at the coffee machine, just striking up the breeze with somebody who's just standing behind you.
Yeah.
So I think AI is going to create the need for us to be in the office more to do those ideation sessions and have better quality of conversations and problem solving. It's not going to, hybrid work is here to stay. Hey, let's face it. But I think that the office and AI is going to create a greater need for us to collaborate and solve those bigger and design those bigger ecosystems of opportunity with each other.
I mean, absolutely. I love that. I always talk about how much I miss the office drive-by, which was just like a 5-minute drive-by where I don't know why so much innovation was bred in those 5 minutes, and that's something that we obviously miss in the remote world. So I think there's a lot of validity to that. I have my team come in 2 days a week, and that's the time where we collaborate, innovate, brainstorm, whiteboard. We get it all out, and then we go back home, and then we're productive with it. But there is really something about that in-person energy that we still very much need. And to your point, AI is going to push us to need it more, forcing us to be more creative when we don't have the busy work to do. Lorri, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Definitely one of my favorite podcasts out of I think this is the 24th episode in 2 years. And just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. I really do believe our listeners are going to get a ton out of this. So thank you again.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jenny. I really appreciate it.
You
Good
got
luck,
it.
everyone.
Last thing, where can people find you, Lorri, if they want to follow up?
I'm on LinkedIn, Lorri Rowlandson,
Great.
BGIS. Just ping me on LinkedIn if you have any questions, and happy to answer.
Excellent. All right. Take care, Lorri.
Thanks, Jenny.